Welcome. In this video I'm going to be replacing the oil filter assembly gasket on this 2006 Honda Odyssey EXL. So this has the J35A7 engine. So this is the gasket kit I'm using. I'll put a link below to this in the description, and if you use that link it helps me out a little bit and doesn't cost you anything extra. So this is 72951. So if you have a Honda Odyssey with the A35A6 engine, you're probably going to have a different gasket. So I've jacked up the front of the car. I have jack stands under the pinch welds on either side, and I've taken off the passenger tire. So here I have access to where the oil filter is. Now the oil filter is currently off. You'll want to drain the oil, take the filter off, and then we can get started on this gasket. So the first thing we need to do is loosen this up. So I have these pliers here. We have a plug here and one here. So I'll remove those. So I ended up breaking that. I have some spares so I can put one back in. From the angle I'm sitting at, I actually can't see that very well because my eye is above where the camera is. So I took two out. I took this one out and this one. So I can peel this back. So let me reposition the camera. Okay, so there are going to be 3 screws to take this off. We have one here, and one down here. They're 12mm. So I'm going to try and break these loose. So I have a socket on a long extension so I don't have to reach back as far to loosen these. Okay, I have those cracked loose. Now I'm just going to use a cordless ratchet to take that off. Now these bolts, I think they're 2 different sizes. You want to keep track of which position they were in. So there's that one. That one's a little longer. And the final one. Now I wasn't sure if this was leaking, but here I can see oil on this longer bolt. And it's the upper right one that's the longer bolt. So now I'm going to pull this off. It seems a little stuck. I'm going to use a bar to pop it loose. It didn't take a lot of force, just a little bit. I am getting some oil leaking out, so I put an oil pan under there. And it looks like the gasket is stuck to the engine. So I'll get a little pick tool so I can pull that out. There we have the old gasket. I don't see any breaks in it, but it's very hard. So now I want to clean this surface, and I want to make sure I don't get any debris in those holes. So I'll use a paper towel and wipe it down, and I'm going to wipe to the side so I don't wipe into the hole. I say paper towel, this is a blue shop towel. I'm also going to clean up the other side. So I'm going to pause the video now. I'm going to get this cleaned up and then we'll continue on. Okay, so I cleaned up the oil filter assembly. Now this comes with 3 gaskets, but we're only using 1. And you can see I fit the new gasket in there. Then I cleaned up the surface here. Now there's a little bit of staining on here. There's not much I can do about that. If I use something abrasive, I might get something in the passages. So now I'll put this back on. I'll put the bolts back in, and I'm going to torque it down to 22 newton meters or 16 foot-pounds. Now when you put the gasket in here, you want to make sure it fits in there nicely. I am going to use my cordless ratchet to run these bolts down, and then I'll torque it with a torque wrench at the end. Okay, so that's all tightened down. So now I'll install a new oil filter. I'm using a Honda OEM filter. Now I'm going to put just a little bit of oil on this gasket, especially since I cleaned this off completely. You don't need to use absolutely clean oil. I just dipped my finger in the oil pan when I drained the oil and put a real light coating on here. And then I'll thread it on hand tight. And I just thought, this is all cleaned up, I'm going to put a little bit of oil on the threads because typically they would have oil on them when you change the filter. Okay, that should be good. The final thing you'll probably want to do is spray this down with something like brake cleaner. That way, if it starts leaking again, you'll more easily be able to see it. So I tied this back. I'm also going to put these other two plugs in, and I'll put the wheel on. I'll test drive it, and I'll check it for leaks. So that's replacing the oil filter assembly gasket on this 2006 Honda Odyssey EXL. That's all I'm going to cover in this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you liked this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.